Hello everybody, welcome to this tutorial on Python. This is coming to you from the United Code Club, and you can feel free to check out our website, unitedcodeclub.org. I'm going to assume that you have already installed Python and that you have your own editor of some sort. You can do these exercises that we're going through and over in your Python shell, if you'd like, in the interpreter itself. But I would say if you're on Windows, go Notepad++. If you're using Linux, gedit's okay. And if you're using Mac, you can use Text Wrangler, Sublime Text, or Komodo Edit is what I'm using on these tutorials. Not the full version of the Komodo IDE, but just the edit version itself. So, not going to get too big into the history of Python. I'll go ahead and link a history of that. The version that we'll be using is Python 2.7, and this throughout all these tutorials. I'm hoping to keep these videos short. I'll be going through the Learn Python the Hard Way, a book that's available online for free, and we'll be going through those exercises. I think it's a really good way. It's probably the most recommended way to start off learning Python, and we're just going to roll through it together. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave me a comment, and if there's anything you'd like to see in one of these videos, just go ahead and shoot me a comment, and I will try to make that happen for you. So anyway, here's where we're going to start on this very first exercise. And what you can see we have going on here is a command of print, and then we got some quotes, and then hello world, hello again, I like typing this is fun. And then you see here we have a single quote. It doesn't matter what you put in this, single or double quotes, as long as whatever you start is the same as how you finish. So right here at the on line number 10, you say, I said do not touch this. And said is in double quotes, but this we started and ended in single quotes. These are called strings. Strings in Python are a way of printing data. Anything that you set in here inside of these inside of quotes is considered to be a string. So what we want to do is I'm going to show you how to run one of these via the terminal, or PowerShell if you're on Windows, or the terminal if you're on Linux. If you are not familiar with the terminal at all, I would suggest that you go ahead and do some Googling and try to get familiar with the basic commands, how to move around, how to find things, things of that nature. So what I'm going to do here is I just listed out, I'm in the correct folder. So if I look at if I pwd, I can see that I'm in my UCC how to exercise folder. And if I want to run this first exercise, I simply type Python and example1.py, and it runs. So we see it printed these statements out. Hello world, hello again. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. We'll make it super ridiculously big. There we go. And there it is. That's how we run one within the terminal itself. If we're in the if we just type out Python, this is how you know if it's installed or not. You type out Python and it's going to go straight into the interpreter. And this is 2.75 is the version that I'm using. Anything will work as long as it's not excuse me, Python 3 or above. There's a few differences that will basically make this code that we're typing not work. So here's the interpreter. The cool thing about the interpreter that I like is it's pretty much instant feedback. So if we were to type hi there, it would just print out hi there. We could do basic math functions, so 3 plus 2, it would tell us 5. If we wanted to set a variable equal to 5, and then we said X, it would say 5. If we said print X, it would also say 5. So it's a way of going through your code and getting like instant feedback. Like, okay, I want to try something. Let me see how this works. You just pop in the interpreter and give it a shot and see what comes out. It's a great place to experiment, and I recommend it if you're going to be working in Python. So that covers this first one, right? This first example. Now we're going to go on to the next example, example number 2. And we're going to go over comments, all right? Anything after a pound sign is ignored by Python. So basically, if you kind of caught on from the last one, this is going to print, I could have code like this, and the comment after is not going to print. It's just, it's a pound sign right there. You can also use comments to disable commands. So like say you're writing up a piece of code and you're like, I'm not sure if this is causing the code to break, or whatever. You can just comment out something and say, okay, well, if it's working without that, then obviously I got a problem. It's a good way to troubleshoot and go through your code. It's also good good practice to comment. Leave comments in your code, and not just for you or anybody else working on your project, because I'm going to tell you that once you get into it and you start writing and working with more complex Python, it's going to be hard for you to remember what this does and what that does, no matter if you know how to read the code or not. It's just things like that happen. So if you're commenting, and you'll see me do a lot of commenting, if you're commenting on things, then it just makes things so much easier. Now you can do a single line comment, which is done with the pound sign itself. So single line comment, or you can do a multi-line comment, which is simply 3 of these quotations, so 3 quotations, and then anything inside of that is considered a multi-line comment. Anyway, so I usually just stick to the single line comments. I really rarely have any use for multi-lines unless you're creating something like we're going to create in this course, which is going to be kind of like a mini game. It's going to kind of talk to you and ask you questions, and based on your response, it'll do certain things. That's much later on, but we'll get to that. So don't get your head wrapped around that too much. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and run this one. And quick little shortcut is if you press the up arrow, you can go back through, and we'll run the example 2. And all we see is I can have it like this, and then the hello world. We don't see any of the comments. So that's basically what this is demonstrating, and nothing more really. If we go over to the next example, numbers and math. All right, I put a sad face. No one really likes math. Some people do, but I'm not a big fan, and you don't have to be a math genius in order to write code. You just don't. It's a misconception. All you have to know is how the code works and basic formulas, and your please excuse my dear Aunt Sally order of operations type stuff. And you can do basic math and get results for many things. Here we have the common operators, okay? We got plus, minus, divide, the asterisk is used for multiplication, the percent sign is used for remainders or modulus, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, okay? Pretty standard algebraic stuff. If you're following along and you want to type out this stuff and see for yourself, I encourage you just to pause the video and type this stuff out and really think about what the code itself is doing. On this line number 17, we'll start off. I will count my chickens, right? So print hens, and then I got a comma after that. All right, that comma is important. Okay, that puts a space that lets me know that there's more stuff coming on the line. Same thing here, print roosters. Okay, and then we have our basic math operations. So we're saying 100 minus 25 times 3, and the modulus of that 4. So, and then we have, now I'll print the eggs, or now I'll count the eggs. And so we have this big long statement, and this is just to basically show off Python's ability to automatically use order of operations. So we know anything in parentheses, please, excuse, exponents, my dear, multiplication, Aunt Sally, you know, addition, subtraction, that kind of stuff. My dear Aunt Sally, division, addition, subtraction. It goes in that order. Okay, so we have these statements. On line 28, print what is 3 plus 2. Now this is just a string, right? What is 3 plus 2? And we put this question mark here. And then we do a comma and we actually do the calculation. So this is going to print out what is this, and then it's going to give us the calculation. Same with this line. And Python is more of a speaking language. This kind of makes sense, right? We're just kind of talking it out. We're not doing anything special with it. We're just kind of talking it out. So we can even ask questions. Is it greater? So is 5 greater than -2? Now notice there's a difference between putting -2 and -2. All right? If we want to do a negative number, we have to put it right next to it, just like we would write it out. Is it greater or equal? Is 5 greater or equal to 2? And what these are going to evaluate to either true or false, or a Boolean statement, which we will work more with later on. That's how this is going to work. So I'm going to show you how it looks when we print it out, and then hopefully you'll kind of get an idea, a little bit better idea of what it actually produces. I will now count my chickens. Hens 30, roosters 97. Now I'll count the hens, 7. Is it true that 3 plus 2 is less than 5 minus 7? False. What is 3 plus 2? 3 plus 2 is 5. What is 5 minus 7? -2. Oh, that's why it's false. How about some more? Is it greater? True. Is it greater or equal? True. Is it less or equal? False. So it took these calculations and it just gives you back, is it true or false? True or false? Does this equation equal a yes or no? That's basically all it is. So for exercise number 3, here's a list of some study drills. Now, if you've taken the time to go ahead and type all of this out, right? And I could possibly start referring you to where it's at online, the actual page and everything. But after you've typed this out, and I really recommend typing, just don't copy paste, okay? Type every single line and then try to run your code. And you'll figure out real quick that you make little errors here and there, and that's fine. Better to get in the habit of doing that now than later on. So for the study drills in this exercise, above each line, use a pound to write a comment to yourself, explaining what the line does. Okay, this is what I was talking about with the comments. It's, you know, it's okay. Okay, print, I will now count my chickens. You know, make a comment that says, command to user that I'm going to count my chickens, or prompt, or not prompt, but, you know, letting them know what's going to happen, letting yourself know what's going to happen. Now you're going to calculate how many hens you have, how many roosters you have. Then you're going to, this is your calculation for the eggs, so write that down. This true or false statement, you know, you're going to write down testing true or false statement. You know, just give yourself something to understand what's going on. Okay, so we're going to start with, we're going to use the interpreter. So open up the interpreter like I showed you how. You just open up a terminal or PowerShell, type in Python, and then use it as a calculator. And what it means here is kind of what I demoed earlier. So if we did 3 plus 2, and then we did multiply 5 minus 3, and then we hit enter, that's the answer. Okay, and as you can see, they're in parentheses, so it did order of operations first. We have 5 on the left, 2 on the right, 5 times 2, easy, easy, right? If we did the exponent, so we would do a double asterisk, 3 to the second power, 3 times 3 is 9. That's some basic math operations that you can use. And if you do 3 modulus 2, we get 1. That's the remainder. There are plenty of other things that you can use to play with math. And there are actual functions within Python that will allow you to do that. One of them is float. If we say float 3.29, it's going to return it as a float value. It is, of course, a float, so if we did float 3, it's going to return it back as 3.0, which is different than just 3. If we did an int, an integer of 3.29, and pressed enter, it's going to give us just 3, not a float point. Floating points are decimal places, so you can kind of see where 3 and 3.29 are not the same value. If I wanted 3.29, I would have to make sure that I'm passing that through as a float. If I just wanted 3, make sure it's an integer. That's what, get in there and play with it. It can do complicated stuff. Okay, find something you need to calculate and go ahead and hop in the interpreter and try to do it. This could be anything simple, like look up a simple mortgage calculator formula and just type it in and see what happens. Give it the values and type it in. It says, notice the math seems wrong. There are no fractions, only whole numbers. Find out why by researching what a floating point number is. I just kind of explained that to you, but here's what you're going to do with that information. You're going to take this exercise and you're going to rewrite the whole thing using floating point numbers, so it's more accurate. And you can do that however you want. You can substitute all these numbers with floating points. So 25 would be 25.00, and so on and so forth. And that's about it for exercise 3. And I promise to keep these short. So exercise 4, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop on this one with variables and names, and then come back on the next video and we'll do some variables and names, and then we'll do a continuation of variables and printing. And I hope that you've enjoyed this and that you've learned a little something about Python and how easy it can be to use. And like I said, going through these videos, just hit the pause button, type everything out on the screen. If you're having any trouble, just shoot me a comment. I'm more than happy to give you a hand if I can. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.